the hot topic here still remains,
Yeah.
you'll admit, is parking.
Yeah.
Okay, paid parking.
Yep.
And so you have folks, this business and others around here,
Yep.
who still feel that has been something that's been a sore point, of course, has hurt some of the business.
Right.
You'll hear that. You've heard it
Yeah.
probably from
Yeah.
everybody to a
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
depending who you talk to. Is there any thoughts about admitting that, let's say the city goes, you know what, maybe it was a failure. Maybe it was the paid parking was a bad idea. What about an idea where you said, okay, we're going to admit that maybe that didn't work. We're going to keep the meters because those are premium parking
Yeah.
spaces. But what we're going to do instead is maybe assess homes an equal level or an amount, small amount over a fixed year, let's say 10 years. And then every business also in a fixed amount. And oh, by the way, the city's also going to pay some money. We're going to pay for the parking decks and what we did on the parking, all the same.
Oh,
And
never- never
then, 10 years finished, you've paid for them, and of course, and then the people paying, if I own a business, and they claim they're losing money,
Yeah.
but for me, $200 more a month is a better scenario than what they claim to be losing.
Yeah.
Is that something that
Well, I like to see the proof they're losing because
Right,
many
'cause you hear
businesses
that.
say no.
You've heard
I
it
mean,
though,
I
right?
hear it, but I want to see the proof. I mean, their perception is it's parking.
Right.
It's, it could be the economy. It could
Right,
be,
yeah, yeah.
in other words, people are presuming that parking is the impact, and I'm looking around and going, there are places that have free parking that are hurting and so on. So I think the reality check has to be, but here's the issue, is the people, the residents shouldn't be paying for the parking for the business district. Because outside the
I'm
business,
not advocating
wait, I'm,
it.
no, I'm
Right,
saying
right.
outside the business
Right, right,
district,
right.
if I own a business not within this business district, I must provide my own parking. I pay taxes on it.
Right.
I maintain it. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's my obligation as a business anywhere else in the city except in the parking district. So number one, it's an obligation business has. In the parking district, they don't. Now let's go back to the beginning because history is what serves us best. In Dearborn, in the 40s, 50s, as the business districts were growing,
Right.
and the main business districts grew, the city took the responsibility to acquire parking, to actually buy homes, buy
Right,
things,
right.
and acquire parking. Sometimes through an SAD where the business were charged for the cost of acquisition,
Right,
other times not. Then they put in meters in all the parking districts were there. Those meters were there until 1970s. The main thrust of change came because the businesses were saying that they needed to have free parking because when the Fairlane Mall went in, they couldn't compete with the mall. That the difference between
Right.
them and the mall was
They
parking.
had free parking, right.
Okay. Now, the truth of the matter is, the difference between them and the mall was not parking, not by any chance. And we can look back now and know, but anybody who would analyze would have known it. The mall was a whole different style of retail.
Right.
Okay. And it's interesting that now retail has gone back to what was the business districts. If you look at things like the Villages of Rochester, they're creating a downtown, and that's the big model now. An outside, not an interior mall, outside with parking on the periphery, but parking also along the streets.
I've seen
and,
that.
And the whole concept now is these outdoor malls because you're cutting overhead, which is important, and so on. Now,
I think
So-
you lose.
so the
I think you
shift-
lose the quaintness in a downtown doing what Rochester did, by the way, because
the
you.
Villages of Rochester.
Yeah, I've seen
But
that.
it's incredibly successful.
It's all big
Because
chains.
they're clustering the things. I mean, what they've got, if you've got a teenager,
Yeah.
they've got all of them clustered. Hollister, American Eagle, Abercrombie and Fitch, and Gap. All those things are clustered together.
Right.
So that group can go instead of having to walk from one side of the mall
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
other
oh,
side
yeah.
of the mall. They go right where they want to go. All I'm saying is that what we have to look at is what's the synergy we need. Retail is down because of internet buying, everything
Right,
else.
yeah.
And so the market's going to take care of itself. We provide infrastructure. The infrastructure is the parking, okay? Now, my notion is that that's a business expense. So it should be the businesses that pick it up.
Right, no one disputes that.
We could have done an SAD,
Right.
but the businesses said they didn't want an SAD. And we actually we asked businesses, the majority of businesses that responded to us said, if it's a choice between a special assessment district
Right.
where we pay our proportionate share or user-paid parking, we prefer user-paid parking, okay? That was,
Well, they
oh,
prefer
yeah.
probably no parking
And
at
actually,
all.
that's still the case.
Right.
Well, no,
Right.
that it wasn't the choice.
Right,
The
okay.
choice is if you're going to pay for the district,
Right.
which way do you pay, SAD or user-paid?
Right.
User-paid because the SAD has to be based on some formula that's going to be patently unfair one way or the other because it doesn't really measure use. User-paid is the fairest basis because it actually determines that the business that most benefits is paying the most through their customers.
Right.
In other words, the one with the heaviest trade is got the most customers, therefore they're
Right.
generating the most revenue. Okay. Now, the trouble is that it was a change, and people. One thing I've learned in government, and not only when I've been in it, even before I got in it, is that people instinctively oppose change, okay? Because it's new and it's natural. That's human
But
nature.
was this half-baked,
okay?
though, the way we approach, in the sense that we didn't
Oh,
maybe have all our ducks lined
the
up?
design
before
was horrible.
Right.
And I've been saying that all along. We hired a consultant and we got burned. The consultant gave us really bad information and didn't answer our questions. Personally, I think the system should have been all meters. I mean, I would look at that change. The reason being, with meters, you go in, you prepay, but you don't have the bottlenecks. You know,
Right.
you're not bottleneck queuing in,
Right.
you're not bottleneck queuing out. You come in, you find a space, you park, you pay, you're done.
Done.
Okay? That's how I...
And you get rid of the cashier booths, and you're
and-
done with
right.
that? Cut that overhead out?
And I actually have asked Parkwright, who's our parking
Right.
manager, to give me an idea of cost to retrofit. Now, there'll be people who won't like that, because they won't like that change too, but, you know, and the thing that killed me is when we were talking to him, you know, we asked about,
Right.
you know, the half hour free on the meters, and the guy
Right.
said, well, you can't do that. Well, guess what? So I go up to Traverse City, you know, after we've got our parking system in, downtown Traverse City, the meters all have a little button you push and get a half hour free.
There you go.
I mean, we got bad advice. I admit that, you
Right.
know. And we actually didn't pay him all his money either, because I refused. I said, we're not paying
Yeah,
him
well,
all his
that's
money.
good.
We got bad advice. But the trouble is, it doesn't mean you give up. And paid parking is not, I mean, I wish we didn't have it.
Right, but we have it now, so maybe
Yeah.
these are some ideas
Well, we
we
have
can
to
look
pay the
at. Yeah,
cost.
have to pay the
That's what-
cost. Well,
yeah.
good.
I'm
We've got-
open to anything.
Right, well, that's good. We've got a ton of other questions.
Yep.
We'll maybe have you here on another time
Okay.
if we can do
Whatever you
that.
like. Yeah,
If you've got
sure.
time to do that, we
Yeah.
appreciate that. I just
Yeah.
want to say thank you for joining
Oh,
us.
are we
It's
done?
good. And,
Okay.
yeah, we're done. We'll wrap up. Trying to keep it short until next time, so I want to say thank you everyone out there for joining us, and we'll see you next time around.